Welcome back, guys. I'm here to talk about the movie that finally got released on Amazon Prime called My Friend Dahmer. Now, before I continue, I am going to talk about spoilers because I have to talk about what happens after he leaves high school because it's a very intriguing story. Now, this movie is basically a prequel to what led him to be this serial killer. This movie stars Lynch, who portrays Jeffrey Dahmer through high school. We have Wolff, who plays the friend named Durf and who actually wrote the graphic novel based on this movie. And I say friends in quotes because it really didn't feel like he was his friend. Now, this movie is very interesting. That's what I would say mainly about the film. The film has its flaws, but the main thing about this film is that it gets you thinking. It makes you want to connect the dots as to what led him to become this serial killer. From the very start of the movie, you kind of see him like dissecting animals, having these animals stored in like jars of acid at this little shed that he has in his house. And you also get to see a perfect representation of the history of his parents. You know, his parents ended up getting divorced, but also before that you get to see, you know, them having problems, them arguing all the time and fighting, ignoring the fact that Jeffrey Dahmer has, like, you know, this serious problem. And even to a point, you know, his dad in interviews says that he noticed Jeffrey's shyness and awkwardness, but he never like saw it past that. He just thought that it was normal because when his father was younger, he was the same way in high school. But the way that Jeffrey Dahmer becomes friends with Durf is that since Jeffrey is having such a hard time struggling and trying to blend in into high school, trying to get friends basically, he starts doing this thing where he just spazzes out in the middle of the hallway, just causing a ruckus, making people laugh. And Durf takes this advantage of saying, hey, maybe we should create this Dahmer fan club and just make him spaz out at different locations. But Lynch's performance in this movie was great. I really liked it. I think that's what kept this movie together, because the thing about the film is that even though you know how this movie will end, the pacing is very slow, and in a way you kind of hit a wall sometimes because you want to know more and you kind of want to see him kill someone, but that doesn't really happen until after high school, and that's where the movie ends basically. We do get to see that dark past of him like checking out this jogger and getting ideas of, you know, what could he possibly do with this jogger. And we also see that side of him, you know, walking around picking up dead animals so he can dissect later. In the beginnings of him becoming an alcoholic teenager, he literally became an alcoholic at the age of 16. That's just crazy. And what's even crazier is that his parents didn't even notice that he was an alcoholic. One of the things that I kind of miss from the film is about his sexuality, because in a lot of interviews, Lionel, his father, kind of says that there's a connection, there had to be a connection with him dissecting animals from an early age, before he was even in high school, like around the age of 4 or 6, and to where it led him to be this awkward, disturbing kid, because he feels like all these things kind of connected with his sexuality. And that's why when he finally started killing men, he kind of started having sex with dead corpses. So he kind of thinks that there is somehow a connection there. But this movie kind of fails at doing that job where we explore his sexuality. We don't really see him being a gay man at all. Like, there's only one scene in the movie itself where I would say that, you know, maybe there was a sign of him being aroused by the doctor because he went to get a physical, and then in the next scene you see him masturbating. So that's kind of a way of the movie saying, hey, you know, maybe this might connect to something else. But that was just a tiny glimpse of what could have led him to being attracted to men. As someone that knows the story of Jeffrey Dahmer, it's easy for me to say, yeah, he was gay and, you know, obviously he had a thing for men. But if someone went into this movie with a clean slate, not knowing anything about him, they're gonna have a lot of questions as to, you know, why is he gay and why did he want to lay down next to an unconscious man? Like, why would he want to do that? But then there are other aspects about the film where, since he is very attracted to men, I think they did a lot of great things with some of the scenes, especially with the jogger, where they would focus a lot on that jogger's physique. So referring to when he's an adult and does all these killings, in one of his freezers where he lived in his apartment when he was older, he kept a man's bicep, which he later ate it. It kind of hints at that idea of Jeffrey Dahmer wanting the man's body. But in the end, guys, I would say that this film was very intriguing, just like the real person, just like Jeffrey Dahmer. The movie itself, like I said, it's very slow pacing, which to me, I call myself dozing off and like spacing out because it's long. It's like an hour and 42 minutes, I think, and I think it was a little bit too long for my liking. But there are some things that are missing, like the sexuality portion, and then I feel like with it being kind of slow paced, it kind of takes me out of the film, even though a lot of the scenes are disturbing. One of the most powerful scenes to me was at the very end where he almost kills his friend Durf. That epic shot of him picking up the bat, about to swing and hit him upside the head. For some reason I really wanted him to hit him, but obviously he doesn't. I think one of the biggest things that this movie does for me is that it humanizes Jeffrey Dahmer, because we know at this point, time and era, he wasn't a serial killer. He was just a troubled kid. It made me feel bad for him. Like, that's the worst part. I know that he was this monster that killed 17 men and boys, but in high school, he was just very troubled. And I think that's what it manages to do. It manages to show us the human side of Jeffrey, where, you know, you see him as an actual teenager. You don't see past that. So with all that said, guys, I would definitely recommend the movie, especially if you know Jeffrey Dahmer's story and you want to know more about his teenage life. So I'm going to give My Friend Dahmer a 3.5 out of 5. But let me just really quickly talk about, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer. He ended up killing 17 men and boys. His preferred way was by strangling them. You know, he drugged them, then ended up performing sexual acts on them, strangling them, and then cutting their throats. He also dismembered them. He ate some of the body parts, and it gets even worse. Yeah, it gets worse than eating. And it was the fact that he tried to create his own sex zombies or sex slaves. Like, he drilled holes into some of his victims and poured acid, thinking that, you know, they would obey his command or something like that. So it just, there's so much to this guy's mind that it's just insane. The crazier thing is that he managed to blend in perfectly. Like, he managed to lie his way through so many situations, especially where he had to deal with cops. And he even got caught once by molesting a kid. One of his victims managed to escape, but that still didn't stop him from killing. If you guys read up on some of the victims, there was one really sad and tragic victim where he had already, I think, started the process of turning him into a zombie or whatever, drilling a hole into his head, turning him into a zombie, and the kid manages to escape. A neighbor calls, you know, the police, and the police, for some reason, decides to return the kid to Dahmer, thanks to Dahmer's like insanely good lying. Like, Jeffrey lies to the cops saying, hey, you know, he's just my lover, he's 19 and he's just drunk out of his mind, we were just having like a fight, blah blah blah. But anyway, the cops return him and, you know, kind of jokingly call the police station saying, yeah, we just returned this Asian kid, he's drunk out of his mind, you know, whatever. And next thing you know, Jeffrey ends up killing him. But I definitely suggest checking out a lot of the documentaries that are out there on YouTube. Especially look into some of the stuff that Lionel Dahmer says, because he has a lot of good takes about, you know, him being a father to the serial killer. Even though some of the things are missing, you know, he doesn't really say that there was problems with him and his wife, and he doesn't really say the parts where, you know, he kind of ignores his kid, because in his childhood he was ignored. He was ignored by everybody, including his parents. And that's, you know, I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons as to why, you know, he kind of was left behind to explore his own sexuality with no guidance and no one offering him help at all. I mean, there were so many signs back there. I mean, you could have easily stopped him at dissecting animals, with the whole spazzing out stuff, being an alcoholic at 16. I mean, it's just crazy how they miss so many red flags. So I'm gonna pass on the question to you. You know, what do you guys think about Jeffrey Dahmer? What do you guys think about this movie? What do you guys think led him to be a serial killer? There's so many things you can derive from a film and from the documentaries that are out there. So guys, if you guys are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell button for notifications. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at FMO1126. Make sure to share this video. And as always, guys, stay tuned.